DANE KEALOHA.
Jared Musser.
This is round 2 for us because, well, we don't want to throw any shade, as the kids say, or talk ill of any small podcast studio that's trying to do their best job. But the last podcast that we recorded in Chinatown didn't go very well.
Yeah.
Like, we forgot to hit record. And so we got our own gear. I mean, I think it was a blessing in disguise because I've wanted to do this for a long time, get our own gear, control the quality, the production, and the set and setting. We're in your house right now. You just made the move back to Hawaii, and it's obviously amazing to have you here and have you a part of the team. But thanks for making time for this.
Thanks for doing round 2 with us. That was our practice round.
It was like the scenic route to here we are in your house. Kind of what we had always talked about.
And maybe it was meant to be.
Yeah.
You know?
So I wanted to, this podcast is really more about you than anything else. Your story, your origin point into real estate, how you look at the business and the core of what makes Dane Dane. So on that, not an easy question to answer by any means, but who is DANE KEALOHA? Prefacing with, you have a very well-known last name.
Yeah. So I was born here in Honolulu. I left at a young age, grew up on the mainland, but always had roots here, have lots of family here. My dad, who I'm named after, DANE KEALOHA, the surfer, was here and also on Maui. So spent a lot of time on both islands. Went to school, college, had careers on the West Coast, learned a lot, had a lot of fun, but life takes turns, and back home, where things started, and back where I have a lot of roots that I spent most of my life without. So it's an interesting but really great time to be back on island and just sort of really lean into my native Hawaiian heritage, and spend time with family here, and really kind of embrace that part of who I am.
Yeah. It must be crazy to grow up with the KEALOHA last name, also to grow up with the KEALOHA last name out of a place that really knows the significance, and also to grow up with the KEALOHA last name attached to probably the most respected, well-known, your dad, DANE KEALOHA.
Sure.
And I'm curious what that was like. I don't want to call it growing up in a shadow, because you're not a waterman like he was.
No.
You're not like, but there is maybe an expectation that people have when they see you, and you guys look alike too.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I've had a lot of people who knew my dad when he was young talk about how it was weird to talk to me because it was like looking at him without the surfer body he had. but yeah, well, it's surprising, I guess, or maybe not surprising that because I grew up mostly in Oregon and then moved to California about 8 years ago. There's quite a big surf culture in both of those places too. So I had old bosses who were surfers that knew of my dad. I had I started real estate in Oregon. I had an open house once, and a neighbor saw my sign and brought his son. He had named Dane after my dad. He was a surfer. So the reach, made it to the mainland for sure. I mean, all over the world, really. But so I grew up with some of that. Obviously growing up in Oregon, I didn't grow up surfing. In fact, I don't know that I've ever actually been in the ocean in Oregon.
Wow.
Because it's a different
You can always blame it on the great whites.
Well, that too. Yeah. But no, it was the temperature for sure.
Yeah.
But
real quick, I feel like this is important. How much have you been in the ocean since you've been back in Hawaii?
Twice.
How much of a desire do you have to learn how to surf?
The desire is there. I think there's definitely, well, I guess getting back to the expectations, I guess there's a bit of a, you know, fear of, of what the expectations may be.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm 40, so
Yeah.
I'm never going to be that kind of surfer, but it's definitely something I want to try. You know, it's not that I have never surfed.
Yeah.
It's just you know, it's been a long time and I was a kid.
I have a
probably.
vision of you and I, and hopefully Chris and our team on a really good south swell, really clean conditions. We're all out there on longboards, just having a good time.
Yeah.
You know,
well, we'll see.
I got a longboard for you. So anytime you're ready to go.
There might be a couple other people on the team that may have some pushback, but
the next question I have for you is a little complicated. Well, I should say there's probably a mixed feel that comes up for you when I ask you this. And so I think a way to kind of reverse engineer our way into an answer that might feel more core to what your experience is. What are a few words, maybe 5 to 10 words that come up when you think about home, being Hawaii, and coming back here? Because obviously there were some core pieces of motivation that made you want to come back to Hawaii.
Sure. I'd say family, number one. Heritage or culture.
Yeah.
You know, that definitely was a big, you know, it's weird to be Native Hawaiian and grow up with such a recognized name, but not grow up part of the culture. Not that I didn't grow up with anything. My mom taught hula. Where I went to college, Pacific University. A third of the student body was from here, so we had a huge luau every year. And I was MC and taught. Actually, I taught poi balls. So,
really?
Yeah. So there's a little hidden skill there.
Did you ever light them on fire?
I did light them on fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know that we have this in common?
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
You would know. So my next door neighbors when I lived on Kauai were luau dancers, fire dancers, and they would do everything on fire.
Yeah.
We're just infatuated with them. There were like 3. It was so lucky. There were 3 beautiful women, my best friends, my next door neighbors, and we would just hang out all the time before work, after work. And it's why I know how to poi dance. It's such a random fact. I've never really shared this with
That's
people.
so funny.
What else was I doing? We had a hula hoop that they made. There was this insane 3-layered hula hoop with, I forget what they call it, but it had all the wood little pillars coming out of it
That you light
on fire. And I got really good with that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Did you ever
burn myself?
Yeah.
A lot.
I only did it once, practicing, and hit myself in the head and singed a bunch of hair.
Yeah.
And I think this is actually on a DVD I probably have. But
of the head hit with the poi ball?
Not that, but at the luau, it was me and a girl, I don't remember her name, but we had probably soaked the poi too much and didn't wring them out.
Yep.
So there was too much kerosene, and we lit the stage on fire.
Oh my God.
And people thought that it was just like a
part of the show.
Yeah, because it was like kind of cool, you know, these lines of fire kind of lit up on the stage, and so everybody thought that we had planned that. But no, it was
that's a real Lilo and Stitch moment you had.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, you know, upcoming poi dance for the team, I guess, between us.
So I hear family, I hear culture, and reconnecting with your roots here. That's felt core to you. And I remember the first time we had a conversation, we talked about the importance of, and probably a good segue into what we do for a living, facilitating in a meaningful way around the housing problem that we have here in Hawaii. And your love and your passion for architectural homes and bringing that into Hawaii, really bringing a resurgence here, which I think you can really build a bridge to that network and that community here. I think it's very underrepresented. We have some really cool homes in Hawaii that just are overlooked and are often torn down, or they have the lipstick renovation that sucks all the soul out of a home. But that's very much not what you're about. And I would love to hear how you grew such a passion for what is character homes, mid-century modern homes, and how that all developed.
So yeah, those kind of two branches are really core to what I want my real estate career here to be. So I guess first, coming here, having always heard about the cost of living, heard about the cost of housing, of groceries, of everything. And I knew that, but really didn't really know it until you were helping us look for a house here. And so to come from, we were lucky enough to have a great house in California that we sold for a great price. And so we had, some funds available to do it. But even then it was hard.
Yeah.
And so, if we were first time buyers or something and didn't have, a ton of family money or a way to get in, I can only imagine how much harder it is. So that's definitely a focus of mine is figuring out how to help locals stay local, and navigating whether that be sort of opportunities in houses like the one we bought that are maybe a little older, need a bit of a polish, but aren't kind of the perfect vision of what somebody's looking for, but you can get in at a better price.
Yeah.
Or finding people that can help get creative with financing. And I think it's going to be a combination of a lot of things to help people, but that's definitely a core focus of mine.
Yeah.
Number two, mid-century modern homes have been kind of core to my real estate career for 10 years. So started in Portland, Oregon. The famous builder there is Bob Rummer. I was lucky enough to meet him a couple times, and I've sold a couple of his homes. Just sort of became known for that in a small way.
I have to ask you, what was it about mid-century modern that really caught you?
I think it's the open floor plan, clean lines, not a lot of decoration and molding or anything. It's very clean and modern. A lot of homes have high ceilings, lots of windows. So it really fits the type of lifestyle that people want today. A lot of people want natural light. I mean, we're sitting in this room with, surrounded by windows and a lot of modern new construction, has more smaller box framed windows, and it's not kind of this expansive glass like a lot of mid-century homes.
As you're talking, there's two things come up for me. One is I've been listening to a lot of Rick Rubin lately, and him talking about how he's, famous music producer, and the way he talks about music. He doesn't have per se a talent or a craft with any instrument. He's not a producer in the sense that he knows how to sound mix or any of these things.
Yeah.
But he famously says, I know what I like and I know what I don't like.
Yep.
And I'm good at articulating those things.
Yep.
When I first stepped into a mid-century modern home myself, it was a feeling of, I like this. This is comfortable. And as I've grown language around that experience, the experience of even being in this house right now, it's clean, minimalistic, effective, understated, but the things that you see have so much swag to them. There's so much personality in the detail, in the minimalism. I think it's just so cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Yeah. And it can go a lot of ways too. There's no one way to own or live in a house.
Yeah. 100%. And it's not better or worse than any house. It's just, like, again, back to the Rick Rubin thing. It's just kind of what I like. It's what we like. And it happens to be very on trend.
Do you have
right
his
now.
book?
The Rick Rubin book?
Yeah.
No, I've just listened to it.
So you can
okay.
borrow it.
Well, thank you. After the show, we'll do a book trade.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like that's kind of the core of what I like, you know, the connection to outside, bringing outside in. You know, that's part of why Southern California is so famous for that type of architecture is it's the climate like here where you can be inside and outside and it's comfortable so much of the year. These types of houses sort of lend themselves to that. You know, whereas if you're although there's a lot of great mid-century architecture in Michigan, which is not nice all year and it's cold. But another place that was sort of developed in the same time period, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s, as Hawaii was. So
look, I grew up in Utah. There's mid-century modern homes in Utah.
Yeah,
like
they're everywhere.
Really cool homes.
Yeah. I was lucky to live and work for about 8 years in Palm Springs, which is such a mecca for that style. And, you know, fueled by Hollywood money back in that time, building vacation homes. And there's so much of it that's preserved or has been updated and saved. That was a great learning experience, to see what's possible, to see the directions different people will take it. You can either go the museum route and make it a perfect, you know, museum quality preserved thing, almost like a piece of art.
Yeah, almost like a replica of a timestamp.
Right.
Yeah.
Which some of those are spectacular, but not everybody wants to live in that. You know, and on the other hand, we've always been the type that, you know, we keep the character that we think is worth saving or is possible to save. You know, sometimes these homes, there's parts of it that maybe were not maintained and it's not possible to keep those things, but we like to keep the stuff that's, you know, we're able to keep. In this house, we're keeping the redwood paneling. We're keeping a lot of the cabinetry. That's all original. We found hardwood floors underneath the carpet. We finished that. So we're trying to save the things that we can. But, you know, we like nice appliances and newer plumbing and new light fixtures, and we replace the electrical. We're going to get some nice new windows. And so I think there's a balance where you can update things, but keep the character or enhance the character and not lose the soul of what the house was when it was built. It's a balance, but and you know, a lot of people would rather just paint this whole house white and put can lights in and you know, that's okay. But you can get a white house with can lights anywhere, really. So, you know, there's something a bit more unique.
I want to run this by you. So we have a scenario. We have a buyer with we'll call it a character home at $1 million, mostly original condition. Probably, let's just assume it's mostly original condition, needs a lot of work. They have option A is to restore the home, try to maintain, bring the character back to life, and do the marriage of functionality with preserving the character. Option B is they're doing what we talked about and alluded to earlier, is they're doing more of a full gut renovation. They're ripping walls off, they're adding sheetrock, they're doing ceiling board, they're, you know, all the things to kind of clean the slate away from the character. I think traditionally it's been the impression that option B is more affordable and easier. And I would make the case that there's a lot more of the blue collar contractor, subcontractor conversations. They're centered around that. So I get it. But what do you think about cost comparison? Because I think when people hear restoring, words like restoration, it feels expensive. It sounds expensive, especially people where this isn't their world.
Sure.
You know?
You know, I wouldn't say it's more expensive. I think it's more tedious.
Right.
It would have been easier for us to maybe just cover up all the walls instead of trying to refinish the wood and even out the tone, the color, or it would have been easier maybe for us to rip out all the cabinets and get new cabinets. It's probably in the end not going to be cheaper for us to keep the things and try to restore it. It's just going to take way more effort.
Yeah.
Cheaper in the sense that we are going to try to do some of that ourselves. Not everybody's up for that. There are a lot of YouTube tutorials that we've been watching on how to refinish wood, and we'll see how that turns out. But if you hire people to do this kind of tedious restoration work, it can get expensive because of the labor involved. But the way we've always gone about some of this stuff is, the kitchen works fine. The cabinets are old. They don't all open and close the way we want. There's some stains, or discoloration. And for now, that's fine. I mean, we can cook and eat perfectly fine with that. And we're going to do it over time, So I think part of it is kind of getting over this instant gratification sort of culture that we live in, and being okay with a little bit of discomfort and a little bit of, our kitchen is not Instagram ready yet. But it will be, it's just going to take us some time and effort. And I think when you go into it with that kind of mindset, it's not as daunting. We did do quite a bit of work up front, but a lot of these more detailed things, we're going to take our time. And then it's not as overwhelming when you give yourself the time to do that.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's almost like having an older car. Having a passion for cars, like having a passion in the space that you live in, and the time and the mental bandwidth. It's not as much a money thing, is what I was hearing. It's more, and I have some past clients and some really good friends now who have this passion, but they also have a lot of time.
Sure,
to pour into it. So I think it's just weighing the pros and cons that come with that. One thing I'd love to do with you and with our team as time progresses is build more of these vendor connections, these contractor connections, where they have a high level of comfort and familiarity with some of these homes. So if someone wants to go with scenario A and restore and basically do what you guys have done here, we can provide that for people. We can provide those connections.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of explaining to contractors who haven't done it before.
Right.
And if it's the right people, they're excited for something new. We've had that experience before where in California, the contractor we worked with for 2 different houses, we asked him to do a lot of things that he had never done before. And he was excited about it because he kind of does the same thing for everyone. And we wanted something out of the norm. And at the end, even the subcontractors were excited about it. They were taking pictures to show people what they had done. And they were proud of what they had done.
That's cool.
So, not all trades are going to be that way. But when you find the right people who are excited about a project that's different from their usual, that's a good relationship to have.
Yeah, that's awesome. So to bring it back to real estate and the business itself, you have this side of your business that I think is pretty niche. It's really cool, especially in Hawaii. We don't have many. Well, honestly, I really know no agents that are hyper focused on the architectural side and restoration and bringing more awareness to these character homes and finding these neighborhoods where you see pops of these homes. You've brought a lot of this to my attention, and now it's like I catch myself everywhere I'm driving. I was showing property today. I'm like, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. But so you have that side of your business, and then I think you have a lot of superpowers as just a human being. I really do. I think you're talented, you're smart, you have a high level of empathy, care, detail. But that's my opinion of you. When you think about what you bring to the table for people in the real estate space, what would you say is your superpower outside of the architectural side? I know you're humble, so this is hard for you.
Yeah. I have had several clients tell me that I am the calm in the storm for them. I am not always actually calm, but I present calm. if that makes sense.
Oh no, I mean that's me. People give me similar feedback. I'm like, you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a good ability to hold it in and
Yeah.
fake it. But people need that. They need the person to ground them through the process of buying or selling. And I think that's probably the best. Well, yeah, one of the best skills I have is to be that sort of solid foundation for them. No matter what, kind of house or transaction it is. And some are easier than others. And, but yeah, I think kind of maintaining that calm for our clients, is a superpower.
Yeah. It is a superpower, and everything in a transaction has the potential to go wrong. Thankfully, and the people that we partner with and choose to collaborate with, from escrow, title inspectors, survey people, tradesmen of all backgrounds, our team, it's imperative to work with good people, but stuff still happens. Stuff still happens. Things hit the fan, and that really has come to me only in the last 5 years, the importance of being the person to come to the table, not just with calm, but with solutions. And I think when you down regulate everyone's nervous systems and bring the temperature down a little bit, it's so much easier to come up with solutions when you're coming from a space of calm.
Totally. Yeah.
And the opposite of that, and you've worked in the LA market as I have too, and you got to call it what it is. I've called it ego inflammation.
Sure.
Where it's like people lose track of who this is actually about and what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's people that try to prove their worth through drama versus actual solutions or other skills that they bring to the table. And it's unfortunate that that's how some people are, but
and that's everywhere. That's in this market too. There's just a lot less of it, I've noticed.
Yeah. Well, I won't talk too bad about Southern California. I'm sure there's some people that will watch this and are still be offended. Yeah. And I love, I do love California. I mean, but it is very different from Hawaii, and we, we had some roots there, but it felt it felt like a transitory place. For a lot of people,
a little bit hollow. I mean, I'll say that I was in LA for 8 years. It felt hollow.
Yeah.
Felt like I really, really, really wanted deep connections there, like real friendships. And I had a couple. I had a lot of friends.
Sure.
But man, it never felt like home.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we were lucky to have, and maybe it's because we were outside of LA. We were in Palm Springs, which is a smaller community. It does feel like it's a small town. So the culture there was maybe a little better, but and we still, I mean, I still have great friends there. I have oddly enough made a lot of connections from there to here, which was unexpected. But actually going back to architecture, people in the world of architecture, whether they be architects, designers, people like me who just appreciate it, or appreciate living in architectural houses, or working in adjacent industries. There's a lot of it's kind of a small world in a way where that exists everywhere in the world. Australia and Japan and South America and in Europe, and the people that are in that world, when you find other people that you can geek out about stuff like that with, it's a cool experience, but it's also a very small network. And it's funny how, since being back on Oahu, connecting with people who also knew people that I already knew from another place, and the weird coincidences of meeting people like that. So it's a much smaller community here of people in that world compared to Palm Springs or Southern California, but there's a growing, I think, interest in this type of architecture and houses, and that's kind of something that I'm excited to be a part of.
Yeah. Again, in a lot of ways, it feels like you're kickstarting a movement here.
Hopefully,
there was a point in time. Obviously, these houses were built. They have an origin story to them, and the movement around mid-century modern and certain builders and developers that we've had come through Hawaii. But that time is come and gone, and now the resurgence. It's starting. There's a little flame that's been lit, and I think that you're part of that. I know some clients that I'm working with, and the conversation is coming up more and more and more and more. And that's exciting.
Yeah, I think the awareness of the value of the architecture that is here, and the value in restoring or appreciating or recognizing these buildings and homes is growing here for sure.
And for better or for worse, the HGTVs and Bravos and all the real estate rehab shows, it's mimicry of mid-century modern, a lot of it. So it's like a rip off and repeat, but but a version that can never be as cool because you can't replicate character. You can try, and some of them do an okay job. But I think, like anything, there's a lot of inherent value in what is the original.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, unfortunately, mid-century modern has sort of become a buzzword.
Even when I use it, I'm like, do I really mean that?
I mean, especially in real estate, you know, I've seen all kinds of stuff be called mid-century modern, but and I mean, you know, really, it's just describing a period of time and a style from that period of time. So there's a broad definition of what that could include. But I think a lot of different places are worthy of recognition, you know. So I've been lucky enough to spend some time at the Lilia Strand House here, which is probably the most famous mid-century modern house by Vladimir Osipov. And I mean, that's kind of like the shining example of the ultimate mid-century modern house.
I want to see it so bad.
Yeah, well,
I know, I missed out.
But you know, and they have done a really great job of sort of being the hub of that community, of bringing people together, having speakers come into the house, use the house as a venue to be a community space, and for people to share their appreciation for that type of architecture. So you know, they have done a lot of great work here, and I think we'll do even more. And so you know, I'm just lucky to have experienced that place, and you know, would love to be involved more with their projects.
Yeah. So we're on a team, Mauka to Makai Real Estate Team. That is our name.
Yep.
Took us a while to get there, but here we are. I'm so happy to have you as a part of the team. And the analogy with all of its cheesiness is, you know, I really do think I grew up as a comic book nerd and science fiction and all this. And I really do think about the Avengers. I love the idea that people all have a unique skill set, a diverse background, a different value add to the team. And I love having you on. I love having Chris on, and we're going to roll out some more of these styles of conversations where we can get to know each person. And when you think about the team, when you think about Mauka and Makai Real Estate, what are you excited about? What are some of your goals with the team, and how that ties into your business?
Yeah, I think it's awesome how each person on the team has their own comes from different but similar backgrounds, but we each have our own sort of niche, whether that be coming from the healthcare industry, whether that come from you know, different parts of the island that you grew up in, specializing in you know, as my husband Chris specializes in you know, helping older clientele or that, you know, are ready to downsize, or you know, if they've unfortunately passed, he's worked with a lot of families that have to deal with estate sales and stuff like that, which is a very different skill too. It's still being the calm in the storm, but at a much more intense, period in somebody's life. So I think it's cool that we all kind of come from these different angles and can really help everyone.
Yeah.
And whether they be, first time buyer or looking for an architectural house or looking for an investment property or whatever, or selling, all kinds of real estate. I think it's cool that we have someone who can help everyone, no matter what their place is.
Yeah, I agree.
From Mauka to Makai.
From Mauka to Makai. Yeah. And it's also a business. I think a lot of people don't know this optically, if you're outside of real estate, that it can be an incredibly lonely business. I've been in the business about the same amount of time as you, about 10 years, right? For you?
Yep.
Yeah, same for me. And I've been in 2 different markets in that amount of time. And I've been on teams, I've been off teams, and I've had the experience of partnership and solo agent and all these things. And what has come up for me repeatedly when I go back to solo agent is, man, this business can be lonely.
Sure.
And very insular.
Yep.
And it's a grind. It is a lot. Like I don't know how agents have free time. It's my biggest challenge is striking a balance with personal life. And also even just that statement, there are so many things in real estate that feel personal because of how we're connected to our clients and our community. And real estate by nature is an incredibly personal thing to exchange. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're the most left-brained engineer type, by the numbers person who assesses everything analytically in that sense. There's still some emotional factor, even for the person relinquishing the property. So all that to say, it's nice to lean into a community of people that it feels like there's support there. It feels like there's camaraderie there. And we're all different, pacing differently in our business with different goals, but it's nice to move in a unit and have that community.
Yeah. And lean on each other when we have on a different situation we haven't experienced before. Maybe somebody else has, maybe they have an idea we hadn't thought of as a solution. I think that's actually the team becomes another superpower where, sort of this collective brain of other people that can chime in if we need it. Where, if we're just on our own spinning about how to solve something, we might come up with a good solution, but there may be something else that somebody else thinks of that we wouldn't have come up with on our own. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a great tool for all of us to have.
Got 3 more questions for you. Okay. This is a fire round.
Okay.
What is one thing other than poi dancing? I feel like you may have answered it with that one because that's such a good one. But what is one thing that is a hidden fact or talent about DANE KEALOHA that most people don't know?
Let's see. I used to do a lot of origami.
Oh yeah.
And I actually I think was pretty good at it. I don't know why. I guess it kind of.
Do you have any laying around?
I don't. I do have a box of origami paper somewhere that I've carried around for 20 years.
I feel like we need to do an open house together, and this needs to be a thing you do at the open house.
I'm just doing origami demonstrations. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think actually quite a few people wouldn't know that. Even close friends.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah,
that is so unique.
I haven't done that. I haven't done any origami in a long time, but like as growing up, that was kind of a hobby. So I guess I'll have to get back into it. But yeah, that's something nobody knows. I'm a big plant person.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you can see, but we're surrounded by
some plants. Feels good walking through. I like the pops of green in life. I think it's important inside a home.
If I weren't doing real estate, I would probably work at a nursery. I think that's how nerdy I am about plants. Yeah.
Wow. What is one thing that you value now or you've put up the hierarchy of way more important now than you did in the last even 5 years?
I think definitely now being here, put way more value in my own culture, and learning more. I certainly don't know enough, and learning Olelo Hawaii, learning, how to make certain foods, learning, even just customs that I didn't grow up with. It's not like being Hawaiian was totally foreign to me, but I'm now, as a 40-year-old, experiencing it fully, in a way that I haven't before, which I definitely am very grateful for the opportunity to do that.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
It's very personal,
Yeah.
and we can choose to cut this out or keep it. What scares you the most about that process?
I think the thing that scares me the most, or makes me most,
and specifically, we're talking about what scares you the most about the process of being reacquainted with your roots, your culture.
I think the thing that scares me the most, or gives me the most anxiety, is not knowing enough and being judged for that. I think, I have heard on other podcasts, or posts online about other Native Hawaiians that grew up similar to me, may have grown up on the mainland, or whatever, and didn't spend their childhood immersed in the culture, and feel like they don't belong, or don't fit in. And I definitely feel some of that, going into it, knowing that I don't want to be perceived as somebody just coming here from the mainland and using that as an opportunity to exploit anything, or just sort of not learn or be part of the culture in a meaningful, genuine way. And so that's kind of the thing that I'm most nervous about with that.
You're nervous. Oh, makes perfect sense. You're nervous about the idea of being close but never fully accepted for the Hawaii part of of who you are.
Right. Or not
not being familiar enough, not being I don't know. It is such a personal thing. I was hesitant to even ask the question, but I'm like, I've kind of wondered about you, and I've wondered about a few of my friends that are actually born and raised in Hawaii. Some of them are Native Hawaiian as well. They've grown up in different parts of the country and they moved back here.
And I think that even people that grow up here, I have heard some people feel 100%. Like, they don't feel like they are Hawaiian enough to call themselves Hawaiian. And I think there's a lot of dialogue about what that even means now. And I think that means different things to different people. I think an important thing that others have been discussing is, you can't, not just calling yourself Hawaiian from a genetics or ancestry sort of thing. I mean, there is that, but also calling yourselves Hawaiian, but conducting yourselves in a way that is worthy of calling yourselves Hawaiian. Showing aloha to others, and respecting Aina, giving back to the community, giving back to nature, or different ways that you can embody what Hawaiian values. I think is something that a lot of people are talking about.
Respect, community driven, a focus on sustainability and respecting the land and the culture and other people, giving without the expectation that you have to receive.
Right.
Kind of the core tenets of what is it to have aloha,
Right.
and convey that in a meaningful way. And all of those things are very much what makes Hawaii, beyond the incredible landscape that is Hawaii, this incredible ocean that we're looking at right now, the mountains, the Mauka, the everything about it that makes Hawaii Hawaii. It's the richness of the culture.
Yeah.
That and unfortunately, the homogenization of that culture that is inevitable. It's coming with time. It will gain momentum.
Right.
That homogenization will continue. And what I mean by that is like a muddling down of, some of these core tenets, but hopefully with, what you're doing really inspires me. I'm 50 shades of white, 23andMe. I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I was having a conversation about this with my girlfriend, Christine, who's 100% Korean, the other day. It's like, I just don't know what my culture, like, what is white culture? And that's a whole tangent we can go down, which I probably shouldn't. But it's
Applebee's,
hot dogs, like the hamburger, what? And I don't know why I had to use the Southern accent there, but like it's culture is a really special thing to have.
Yeah.
And roots in a place, and especially a place like Hawaii, and to have all the love and reverence and respect that you have for this place, and to come back here and to be on this journey with what I perceive as humility and a deep sense of respect for what you know and what you don't know. It's just a lovely thing to watch, man.
Yeah, thanks. And that really kind of sums up my thoughts with coming back here. Is I didn't want to come back here and just take up space and take up resources and be another person that's, coming here to buy a house and maybe push out a local or something. Which luckily we didn't do that with this house. But I was
another
really
hot button topic. I saw this post yesterday about a huge local Instagram account. What is a local? That's a tangent to go down. But anyway, keep going.
But I wanted to make sure that coming here, I was going to give back in some way. And I feel like one of those ways is, everything I learned and experienced in school or with work or my current career or my past careers in the mainland. How can I take those skills and those experiences and add value here in a way that's needed, and I'm still learning all the ways that could manifest. But that's kind of something that I really want to, make sure I address somehow.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. This idea that and that's not just Hawaii. That's always happened throughout time, throughout culture, anthropologically, that people would leave the tribe and the community and they'd go out and they would collect knowledge and bring it back. And I want to be careful with the way I talk about it, because it's not coming back to fix anything in Hawaii.
Sure.
But it's coming back with, like what we were just saying, with a lot of your intention here is, how can I contribute?
Right.
How can I take some of this knowledge and sharpen the axe and be supportive here? Yeah,
it's definitely contributing and not just taking.
Yeah.
So definitely I'm looking for all the ways that I can add value to anything. I mean, there's a lot of things real estate related that I can add value to, but also looking at those as potential learning experiences for me too. There's a great it's a land conservancy, Palahua is their name, and they're up in the Waianae Mountains. We toured a cabin up there, and they do a community work day once a month. I tried to go last month, it got canceled, and so I'm hoping to go this month, just to try to remove invasive species, bring back native plants, and helping them with the community work center, or There's, I think, an education center that they're building up there. And, opportunities like that, I think are great in one, to try to help to give back, but two, also to learn, what it means to take care of Aina, and what it means to try to restore native landscapes. I think there's a ton there to learn. Even in our own neighborhood, I'm just noticing, even just from talking to people from there, all of the invasive trees that are surrounding our neighborhood that are creating dry, arid hillsides that are probably not super safe to have surrounding a neighborhood. And thinking about what can we do about that, to try to bring back the trees that would have been here instead. So yeah, that was a big tangent, but anyway, those are just things on my mind as we're
as you were talking, I was thinking about my 4.5-year-old Rebel. She's in a sort of a preschool kindergarten learning pod. It's a program in Kaneohe called Papahana, and it's at every day they're outside doing something. Every day they're learning about native and invasive species, the differences of plants and animals and things to look for and ways to help the community. It's really amazing. I learn something new every time I go there. And we're at a taro patch or lo'i, and we're knee deep in mud. For her, she was chest deep in mud. And the teacher is pointing all around us. She's like, that's invasive, that's invasive, that's invasive. And then we're getting these little freshwater, what look like catfish, I forget the name, sorry, in Hawaiian, and we're scooping those out. Mostly Rebels taking out rocks. But as you look around, it's a reminder of how much of this our environment is not native to Hawaii. And since not all of it's bad, quote unquote, but it's interesting to look at. It's also interesting to look at how we mitigate those things in a meaningful way versus like what my daughter's school is doing is great, and what you attended is great, but on a governmental level, we need support with that. And I don't see a lot being done.
No, I mean, there's so much, because once you start paying attention, walking through a ridge side that on a hike, that's all, dry pine needles, in which should be ferns and flowers, and which
by the way suck when it's slippery and they're dry and your feet are muddy. And Olamana, I've slipped so many times in the pine needle section.
Up here too, there's a trail that leads from the park, and the whole first half of it is like that too. So it's kind of amazing the way that the land has changed so much just from people planting other things. And maybe they had good intentions with reforesting areas, but just we're not putting the right things in the ground. And luckily, maybe we know better now. But I think there's a lot of damage control to do. And that affects, we all live here. So that can affect our communities in different ways too. Whether that be erosion control or mitigating fire hazards, or whatever. All of our neighborhoods are kind of affected by that in one way or another.
Absolutely. We got time for one more question.
Okay.
And I want to apologize for how serious this question is.
Okay.
It's very, very loaded. It's kind of an intense thing to ask anybody. But what is your favorite song to sing at karaoke?
I kind of had a feeling you were going this way.
I'm starting to learn my humor. My super dry sense of humor.
Yeah. This is really weird, but for some reason, I tend to go back to Alanis Morissette.
Okay.
You Ought to Know.
Okay.
I don't know why. I mean, there's
no way we could sample a little bit right now.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
But I think it's just the middle school weird me in the like grunge Northwest music scene.
Yeah. That's funny.
For whatever reason, that was kind of I really liked her.
I don't know, man. I was picturing you coming in with like a Motown of some sort. Just it kind of fits like the era, kind of. It's character music, you could say.
Sure. Yeah. I do appreciate. I mean, I appreciate all kinds of music, but that to me more is like, cocktail party music. But I don't necessarily. It's not necessarily my karaoke go-to.
Sure. I'm going to make a commitment to anyone who's stayed with us this long and you're watching up to this point. Our team is going to have a team building exercise. We're all going to go to karaoke, and we will have footage of Dane singing that song. You have to.
Footage already exists.
Okay.
From some friends.
We're going to get some fresh footage. I'll use these mics.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, man, this has been great. Thank you. And we covered a lot of ground, and I feel like there's a much bigger conversation here to have. And I'm really excited to get to know you more and to get to know Chris more and to watch our team take shape and build this momentum in all these different ways. It's been really rewarding and fulfilling to be your friend, even in the short amount of time that we've known each other. And I'm excited.
Well, and I have to thank you for playing a pretty important role in getting us here. I mean, you helped us buy this house and invited us onto your team. We were with Compass already, but having you as our sort of North Star to get here has been invaluable, and can't thank you enough for all of that, and more to come.
More to come, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wait, we got to do more of a local.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
I got it.
We're working on it. Thanks, man. Thanks for being on.